What up? Right. This is podcast number 7 or some shit like that. It's me, Max, and I'm with my good friend Joe Digioia. How you doing, man?
Hanging in there, man. You know, rough road, but I'm making it.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into that in a minute. So, Joe is my friend. Right now he's very active in recovery, actually, right?
Yep, that I am.
How often do you go to NA meetings and stuff just to talk?
I attend NA meetings every Friday and every Sunday. That's actually my home group. I do that at the rehab I actually went to. I'm very involved in it. You know, like I said, it's my home group. I do the clean time commitment, which basically, you know, I hand out the key tags and give hugs to, you know, people who are celebrating like, you know, so many days or years or anything like that clean.
That's awesome, man. Like, it's good to get back into a positive cycle. But before we get into the negative cycle, let's talk about how we met. So I think, did you move here in like 6th grade when you moved by?
Yeah, it was actually it was halfway through 5th grade.
Okay.
That I moved here.
See, we used to skate. We used to do dumb little hood rat shit in fucking Pittsgrove. Remember the time we sat on your roof and we shot the slingshot at that truck?
Yeah, and the truck stopped and said he was going to call the cops. My dad had to go out there.
That was bad. That was bad.
Yeah. That was your fault, by the way.
That was definitely my fault. That was definitely my fault. I bought the slingshot and everything.
Yeah, I think it was a wrist rocket, too. It wasn't even like a normal slingshot.
They shouldn't have sold that to me. That was some legal situation. Yeah. That could have been real fucking bad. And we had a fight because I flicked salad in your brother's face.
Yeah, we actually had multiple fights.
Yeah. That was probably the worst fights I've ever been in. Like, just as far as dumb, like, it reminds me kind of like what happened to Copley, just because we could have really hurt each other. You could have fucked me up real bad. I hit you with a rock. I pepper sprayed you. Like, that shit was dumb.
I still have that rock to this day, too.
That's hilarious. That's funny to me.
Yeah, it's at my mom's parents' house.
Well, I'm sorry about that. And
apology accepted.
And it was crazy and it was stupid. I think a lot of it. My dad was pissed. Your dad was pissed.
Oh yeah, I remember the phone call between our fathers and all. You know, I remember my dad sitting there saying like, "My son's gonna fuck your son up," and then click. Hang up.
My dad was like, "I'm dying of cancer. I don't give a fuck what you have to say." Like they were just mad. They were both pretty pissed off.
Yeah.
And I wasn't that pissed off at you, at least.
Me, I was forced to be pissed off by my father because, you know, he always preached family first, and it was more like if I didn't do something about it, you know, I was a disappointment or something like that in my father's eyes, and I wasn't trying to be that.
And I felt the same way. I kind of felt the same way, but at the same time, my dad was dying, and my mom was kind of also in his ear about not being like that because my dad made my older brother, my half brother, fight some guy because a guy threw a rock at his window when he lived in Philly. And he, like, regretted that, making my brother fight that guy. And he told me that when we fought. And so I think, you know, our dads were just on the same exact fucking shit.
Yeah.
And we were on the same, like, angry little kid shit, too, you know?
Yeah, and, you know, we also kind of had something to prove to, you know, each other and stuff. Because,
each other, ourselves, the town.
Yeah, we were, like, those popular kids and all, you know. Everyone knew who we were.
It's kind of crazy. I feel like I accidentally became popular and everybody didn't meet, like... by my senior year and even in high school, like, all my friends were either dropped out or, like, in the most nerdiest fucking shit ever. Like, I was in honors classes and then outside smoking pot with, like, basically criminals.
Yeah, I definitely hear that. I was probably one of those criminals. I still went to Shalleck.
It was. We had some great times though. We really did have some fucking crazy good times. You had a half pipe in your backyard.
Yeah, a half pipe, a quarter pipe, a kicker with a rail. You know, I had crazy, like, a whole skate park in my backyard.
That really was fucking this shit. That's why we were there when you weren't there, and that's why this whole if you were there, that whole thing wouldn't have happened like that, to be honest with you. But it is what it is. It's water under the bridge, and I'm glad that we're over it, and neither one of us is fucking, like, still mad.
Yeah, exactly. There's no hard feelings whatsoever.
So, let's start from the beginning. How did your addiction start, and what was the first drug that you feel like you got addicted to, or even tried?
My addiction, a lot of people looking at it from the outside, they want to pin it on my ex Danielle, but in actuality, what it was, just kind of like a means for me to try it. When I got with her, she was an addict, and my curiosity began even way before I was into the drug scene and surrounded by the drugs.
Now, was she using heroin at the time, or was it?
She was doing fentanyl.
Okay, okay. So it. Damn. Okay, continue. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Feel free to intervene. And my curiosity began before that, back in 2016 when my father passed away, because all the events leading up to his death. Which that's another thing. At 18 years old, I had to pull the plug on my own father in front of my whole family due to adverse effects of his drug addiction.
I'm really sorry about that, man.
Thank you.
I've lost both my parents, and I wasn't there when you lost your dad because we weren't, talking or whatever. But it was drug addiction that got your dad.
Yes, my father was actually running around Camden. Towards the end of his addiction, he was staying in the Camden homeless shelter across from the Camden scrapyard at the time of his death. But after he passed, it really got me thinking, what was it about this substance, this powder that, caused my father to do the things he did? What made him not call me on my birthday? What made him, not show up to my high school graduation? What made him do this? What made him do that? He disappeared for basically my whole freshman year. He came back on Father's Day and he was just skin and bone. And my father, he was a chunkier dude, not heavyset, but chunky. And
same with you. You lost a lot of weight when you were in a bad situation.
Yeah,
you're like a heavier set dude too,
Yeah, I've always been heavy. Since like 6th grade, I was like $180, and before my addiction, I was 240 pounds. And when checked into rehab for the last time, I was 160 pounds.
So what? That's like it's like a 120-pound difference.
Yeah, yeah.
So like when I took acid for the first time, I was like, oh, I get why all of these people talk about acid like this. And then like I had a mystical type experience and I was like, oh, I get why people talk about tripping like this. So when you tried like heroin or fentanyl or whatever the hell was in that bag you tried the first time, did you get why your father had like given his life up to it?
No, that I didn't. Basically because I hadn't done it long enough to the point where, I could succumb myself to, its effects.
So it's not even that great the first time.
I'm not saying that, but it's not to the point where, you're going to put everything you love to the side for it.
Everything's best the first time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sex, fucking cigarettes, fucking weed, everything. There's no, it doesn't matter what it is. There's nothing like that first time you really got it,
Yeah, and it's different for everyone. I had plenty of people saying that, them doing fentanyl was, better than sex. But, it was to the point where, I've had sex and dope in front of me. And I was like, fuck it, why not both? Other people, they do the dope and be like, I don't even want to have sex.
Or yeah, well, like I mean, I assume people's like dicks don't work and shit like that, because even on coke, people's dicks like stop working. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, you still try.
Yeah, okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I mean how linked was sex and drugs in your fucking world? Like, because you picture it always going together. Like, you picture just two naked people shooting up in an apartment forever. You know what I mean?
Basically, I mean, that's basically where it got to. My sex life when I was on drugs was great. And you would just get high and, you'd feel all this numbness. And it just triggered, the dopamine factors inside your head.
Yeah.
And because of that, you were just looking for that next thing. It's like, well, I'm already high on this. Nothing else can do that except for sex.
That's the thing about, like, long-term addictions. Because at first you're like, oh, I'm just going to, like, even just pot. I'm just going to try smoking pot. And then you're like, all right, well, now I want to smoke pot at the park. And then I want to smoke pot and I want to try and fucking go eat this thing or fucking... But, like, with heroin, it's like, I just need to hit that pleasure button again, probably, right?
Exactly. It's like, finding the G spot in your head.
Okay, so take me through, so your decision to try harder drugs, it was partially due partially due to curiosity, partially due to being around a girl that was doing it, right?
Yes.
So there's usually they call it like the bad fish, if you listen to like Sublime and shit, like the one that gets their friends to try it.
Yeah, but it wasn't even like that. She like I said, contrary to unpopular belief, everyone thinks that she like basically like put a gun to my head and was like, try it.
Well, I wouldn't so much as say that.
Well,
I definitely.
Yeah, I know in your case, but other people like my family and all that. But basically, she was dead set against me trying it, and I kept on telling her, either I can do it with you, or I know who sells it. I can go do it myself, and I can possibly die.
Yeah, that's another thing is like the safety in drugs. Like you get like there's definitely like people that are enablers that are doing it safely too. Like that's another thing. Like you see that a lot of the times with the people that are like going around with Narcan. Like a lot of them are recovering addicts that are just trying to make sure that people are alive. They don't really care if people get clean or anything after that. It's more for short-term treatment than it is anything else. Like Narcan resuscitation is a good example.
Yeah, exactly.
So was it fentanyl that you tried the first time?
Yes. And the thing is too, what surprises a lot of people is at the time I was completely sober. I wasn't doing. Actually, no, that's a lie. I was doing coke at the time.
Okay.
But
so yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that coke led them to try other things just because when you try coke, you're like, oh, this is not what everybody kind of makes it seem to be.
Yeah, the only thing coke ever led me to try was meth, and that's just because I was told that with this much meth, you can get the same effect as 3 times the amount of coke.
Yeah, like a whole fucking like an 8-ball. You know what I mean? Like you really need an 8-ball to party with coke. I mean, you probably need like a 0.2, 0.3 for meth to last fucking the same amount of time.
Yeah, next thing you know, you haven't slept in a week. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like I've known people who have had like varying degrees of even MDMA addiction. Like even just people that use a lot of Molly get like that. Like they're just up for really long periods of time and they just kind of stare off and zoom, and it's like, I don't know. I definitely don't like coming down off of those fucking drugs, but I like sleeping. You know what I mean? Like there's a documentary about a guy, Doc Hollywood, who was taking like grams of meth at a time and partying for like 5 days a week, and then he would take like 6 to 8 Xanax and he'd just sleep for the whole weekend. And like he would like he thought he was so smart because he was a fucking doctor prescribing himself like these things. But like, you know what I mean? You can only just fucking party so hard with recovering that way.
Yeah, in his sense, that was his yin and yang. If I, take these drugs and also that I can sleep, that allows me to have the energy and all to take these drugs and party.
Yeah, like when you get hooked on drugs, you start needing drugs to like emulate normal body function. You're like, all right, this one's to wake up, this one's to take a shit, this one's to fucking go for this one's to fucking go for a little bit, and then I need to sleep. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So what was it? How did fentanyl like feel for the first time? Like, what are your notes on it running through your? Did you shoot it the first time or did you snort it?
The first time, actually, I smoked it. It's this process, what they call chasing the dragon. Yeah, it's a funny term, but I was afraid to snort it because I was like, what if I do too much? To me, smoking it's kind of like a vaporizing effect, like with weed. Basically, you put on this tinfoil and all, and you got either a straw or a rolled up dollar bill in your mouth, and you light the underneath the tinfoil, and it causes you vaporize the dope.
I've seen people draw pictures of shit with Percocets doing that.
Yeah, it's the same.
It's grody. I've never done it, but I've seen it in front of me.
Yeah, that's how I've heard of it.
Yeah. So continue.
And my take on that was I can take a hit, see how I feel and all. If I feel like I need to be higher, if I feel like I'm too high, I can stop or do more. Mm-hmm. And dude, that first hit, fucking not even 10 seconds, and I was nodding out. I had my fucking head in between my knees.
See, was that fun though? Like that doesn't sound fun to me. You know what I mean? Like nodding, like maybe it's just me. Maybe I don't like nodding out, but like why would you pay money to nod out? Like that's what I'm hearing here.
Yeah, that's everyone's general question. The thing is like, it's not so much that people think that it makes you sleepy. It calms all your senses, and all you just feel is like this numbness.
Right.
And it's then you're overcome with the sensation of just pure pleasure.
Okay.
That's what it is. It's not that you're nodding out from sleep. You're nodding out from just, all your senses, being one in a sense.
Now, like, could you do any amount of this and not and like walk around and function, or is like one hit like paralysis type of shit?
Nowadays, if, you haven't done anything, if you haven't popped perks or, did any form of opiate.
Were you addicted to perks before this?
Did
you have an opiate tolerance?
When I was around 15, I messed around with them because I had my wisdom teeth pulled and I got, a dependency on there, but not to the point where I was getting, perk sickness or anything like that.
You just knew you liked them.
Yeah, so coming into, doing the fentanyl, I had no tolerance whatsoever for any form of opiate.
That's scary as fuck, dude. No wonder you were afraid of, like, overdosing. Like, holy shit.
I was afraid to even touch it because, that stuff, you get it on your skin, it gets in your pores, and you can OD like that.
Shit. Like, yeah, I remember, I think it was Camden, of course, but I think they found, like, a lab with it in it, and they had to fucking shut down the whole street because if it got fucking airborne while they were fucking cleaning it up, like, it could kill anybody. Like, it's just airborne fucking fentanyl. Like,
yeah, if you're talking about like last year, like towards the end of the year when they did that, I was there for that.
Oh my god, dude. So run me through like a day in Camden. Like
a day in Camden. I was actually running with someone at that point in time that it's actually here from Pittsgrove and all. I'm not going to name names.
No,
like
yeah,
that.
We'll keep, this is your personal stuff.
Yeah, this is just someone, I've known for a while and I had a lot of trust in.
Someone you grew up with. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Which is a lot. I feel like in this town, it's a lot of opioid use is a lot of people that they grew up with.
Yeah.
And it's like they secretly did something bad when they were kids and then they're like, yo, let's try it again tonight. You know what I mean? I know where I can get it. And then I know I have a good friend that I kind of think that happened to.
Yeah, and it's basically this kid that I was running with. He had this buddy that had a place in Camden. All he just met him from running the streets and all. And this guy was 100% clean, but there was always something off about him. And now that I got clean, I realized what it was. But there was times where we'd sleep in my car, or we'd go and the guy would let us sleep on the floor of his apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd wake up in the morning, and the first thing we'd do is we'd start walking around the streets, because if you wake up early enough, they give out samples and all. Which basically sample is exactly what it sounds like, a sample. They give you something. If you liked it, you'd come back later on that day to get more of it from them.
Wait, so they're just sitting there like fucking the people at Acme, like fucking with like fucking here, yo, here's a little fucking fix.
Yeah, like with a little toothpick and shit. Yeah,
that's fucking evil. All right, continue.
Yeah, and basically they would have a set guy that would give out the samples, and you'd only see him for giving out the samples, and they give him a bundle to hand out.
How much is in a bundle? I know I've heard the use before, but I've never actually bought or anything that would be referred to in a bundle.
A bundle is 15 bags, and then a brick is 5 bundles.
Okay, so now a bag is like a gram?
Bag is actually, it all depends on who you go to. Most of the time, a bag is half a gram.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Well, actually.
Yeah, continue.
Hold on, I think I just slipped myself up with that. No, a bag is actually 0.05, so it's less than half a gram.
Okay, no, so it's like a bag is like 0.05.
It's a nick. A bag is a nick.
It's like it's like $5.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So, because again, it's not, we can't talk about it in weight, because you can't compare it to like weed or fucking anything
well,
like that.
I actually, when I was getting high in Cumberland County, not the jail, the county itself, I would buy it in what they would call loose, where I would buy it in weight like that. I tell the guy, like, look, I need a gram, I need 2 grams, and he'd put it in a bag, or, the person I was going to, he would rip off pieces of paper and put it in a piece of paper and fold it up like fucking origami.
I guess you get bored with selling drugs, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
So the guy that you were like staying with in Camden, he was just like, he wasn't a drug addict or anything, he was just enabling you, or what do you think?
Yeah, in a sense, he was basically, he he was trying to look out for us, because he was very close to...
he was like protecting you in a way?
Yeah, in a sense. And the thing is too, like, he would let us get high in his apartment. He would let us shoot up in his apartment and everything, because he's like, not saying that I'm calling the cops, but if something happens to you guys, I'm dragging you out to the fucking street. and it didn't happen here.
Yeah, I mean, I just assume that happens all the time. Like,
Yeah.
I saw a statistic one time. I don't know how accurate it was, but it was like, I think it was 80% of addicts admit to never using by themselves, and then like 95% of addicts are found by themselves. Now, I don't know. Again, I don't know how accurate that statistic was, and don't quote me on those
Yeah,
numbers.
based off of my own experiences, I would have to agree with you there that, those statistics,
You didn't find yourself using by yourself a lot at all.
I found myself using by myself so I wasn't sick.
Okay, so
But
at that point, it had already been too late.
yeah, but I wasn't using by myself to get high.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. See, like, sometimes I find myself, like, smoking a lot of weed because I'm, like, bored and by myself. Like, you'd think, like, boredom would be, like, a fueling thing in addiction.
Yeah, I mean, it's like masturbation. Masturbation, most of the time it's because you're bored. You're not even horny.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's another one of my addictions. That's why, I refer to that.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's a safe addiction, but it is a serious addiction, especially with porn enabling people the way they are. Like, there's definitely probably people that don't go to fucking work because they're jerking off.
Exactly.
Like, and that's crazy to think about, but it's like not, and no one's taking it seriously either. Same with video game addiction. Like, they're just more acceptable than like doing something, maybe because they're newer, but like it's gonna have the same effect with people not working, and God knows what weird like developmental things are gonna happen to people that don't get up and move around because they're playing Xbox all day and shit like that.
Exactly.
And that's it's just different levels of addiction. Like, and I think everybody can be addicted to things. Some people are a lot more susceptible than others.
Mm-hmm.
I personally am susceptible. That's why I avoid most stuff. Like, I can try things, but I get addicted to things. I get addicted to TV shows. I get addicted to things that fucking are, I can't, if I have a bag of pistachios in front of me, I'm going to eat the whole fucking bag.
Oh, yeah.
Like, pistachios are fucking good.
Oh, I know, man. I used to suck on the shells for a half hour before I
Hell,
split it open
yeah,
to eat the fucking pistachio itself.
That salt shit is fucking good.
Yeah.
So you found yourself in Camden. You tried it. You tried fentanyl. Now, what was the decision to step it up to, like, when did it, like, when I've tried drugs, I've been like, all right, you tried it this time, let's stay away from it for like a month. You know what I mean? Did you have like a stage like that where you were like, I'm gonna try and avoid it, or was it like I tried it and then all of a sudden it's around you all the time?
It's basically I tried it and then it was around me all the time. I kept on saying like, yeah, I'm just gonna do it for a week, and then after the week I'm done, and that never happened. It was just from the moment I tried it, I never stopped.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like Coke is like that though. Like when I've done Coke, like I've had feelings like, fuck it, I have money back at my house. Like, I was only gonna spend $100 tonight, but I'll just go grab another fucking 100 and fucking fuck it. You know what I mean? And and like I needed that money, but like, you just get like this fucking impulse. It's like it's like a hella impulsive drug, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is too, when I started running in Camden, from the very first day I started running around Camden. Actually, before I started going to Camden,
now you and your girlfriend were broken up at this point. You weren't using together, or
yeah, we weren't using together, but we're still in contact with each other.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons for that is we were staying with a particular person in Cumberland County, and at the time, me and her had no means of getting money, and this person was basically, buying us drugs,
funding your lifestyle.
Yeah, and this was, a female who, did what she had to do to make money, and she didn't ask anything of us.
Right. So yeah, she was involved in what she had to do, and
yeah, and I had a car, so I would drive her to go get the drugs.
I've heard fucking Mr. Kelly. I think he caught me high in like 8th grade, bro,
Mm-hmm.
and he was fucking like, sorry to interrupt.
No,
he was like, I have a brother that is addicted to crack, and he's the only crackhead with a car, and he lets the dealer borrow his car so he can smoke crack every day, and that's his whole life. And I feel like he told me that as like a warning, but like, what the fuck kind of story is that to tell an 8th grader?
I've had it's funny, yeah, tell an 8th grader, that's not something you would normally do.
It was weird, but he definitely thought I was high in his class, and I probably was. So anyway, continue.
I've never rented out my car, but I know people who have. But while we were staying with this female, that's when I was starting to do crack, and I was still doing fentanyl.
Mm-hmm.
And
So you did fentanyl before crack.
yes,
But you liked coke before.
yes,
What was the decision? So now, how different is coke and crack?
it's a world's difference. Like, it's basically,
I've
even though it's
experienced
not
cocaine in my
even though technically it's not, it's like two completely separate drugs.
which I mean, it's a chemical change. You know what I mean? You have to fucking like anytime you're adding chemicals or changing chemical structures or something, it's definitely a different fucking drug. Like Adderall and meth and Molly, MDMA, yeah, they're all amphetamines, but they're all definitely different drugs.
Yeah, exactly.
And anyone who's tried them can tell you how different they are.
Yeah, but crack, it's actually funny. The kid that I ran with in Camden, we actually had nicknames for each other. He was Cracky Tweets McGee, and I was Cokey Moaner because, yeah, I know, funny fucking names. But whenever I would do coke and all, I would shoot coke, it would calm me down. Sniffing coke, it would hype me up and all. But then smoking crack, I would actually moan like a bitch whenever I would exhale the hit. I'd sit there and I'd take the hit, and everyone I ever smoked crack with used to bust my balls like, you're hitting it too long, blah, blah, you're going to crack the glass, all this shit. But, I would lean back in my seat, and I'd sit there and I'd exhale that hit, and, dude, it sounded like a scene straight out of a porn. Like, you would think, like, some chick was getting fucked in the back seat. Yeah, it's like,
oh my god.
Yeah, and meanwhile, like,
and that's not normal. That's not a normal response to crack, I guess.
No. From what people tell me, I have psychological issues.
I've heard somebody tell me that they tried meth and they came themselves.
What I've heard was if you shoot meth, you'll instantly orgasm. I've never shot meth because it burned enough going up my nose. I didn't want to know what it felt like going through my veins.
So yeah, that's another thing. Does it like? So the decision to shoot up for the first time, what was that like? Was it crack or was it fentanyl?
It was fentanyl.
Probably just because you wanted it to go further.
Yeah, the very first time I ever shot up wasn't when I started constantly shooting. The very first time I went to shoot up, I was actually on my lunch break, and I was every day on my lunch break when I still had a job, I'd leave work and all, and I'd go cop. Get high there, go back to work, and then I had my shit for the rest of the day, so I can make it through the work day.
Okay, so you'd wake up, you'd go to work, you'd get shit halfway through the day to keep you going through the day?
Yeah, well, I say my lunch break and all, but I would take my lunch break at like 9 o'clock after I just clocked in at 8, so I could go get high.
So yeah, you just needed...
Yeah, and the one day, nobody was around, so I picked up, a fellow addict that I knew, and me and him, we ended up going through his Connect, which my Connect's always had like the strongest stuff and all, but he had more quantity over quality with Connects, and I was so dope sick and I had to get back to work and all. We ended up going through his dude, and mind you, my hour lunch break turned into a 3 hour long endeavor.
True.
And surprisingly, I didn't get fired that day.
What?
And when we ended up getting the stuff, it was so skimped, we got beat so bad, which I think he might have pinched out of the bag. I told him, I said, look, I'll break you off, but you got to shoot me up.
Mm-hmm.
And, the first time shooting up, to me, it seemed like a waste. I was still
So you shot up during a work day for the first time?
Yeah.
Oh, my fuck.
Yeah. On my lunch break, like 45 minutes away from my work, so I had no clue how it was going to affect me, and I still had to drop this kid off and then go back to work.
Holy shit.
And
okay.
mind you, I'm a mechanic, too, so, what I'm doing is I'm putting people's lives at danger, every time I went to work high.
Yeah. What were you doing? Construction?
Mechanic, auto.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so yeah,
auto
you could still drop a car on somebody's fucking head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even if I fuck something up and they're going down the road, they got a wheel
brake
off
systems
or,
and fucking wheel systems. Yeah, you could have. I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy thinking because I see people even alcoholics. I think how the fuck could you just wake up and just do a bunch of shots and then just fucking go about your day? Because I take a shot and I don't feel like doing fucking shit anymore.
Yeah.
And so is it like a mental battle between shooting up and did you ever hallucinate during any of these experiences?
It's actually funny. This one time at my mother's house, when I was out running, I finally decided to come back. I never hallucinated, while I was awake. When I went to sleep, I had such a vivid dream that I believe it was hallucination. I actually woke up crying because
Sounds like a hallucination.
I believed that I had died in my sleep, and I went into my mom's room crying, and I slept in my mom's bed that night.
Holy shit.
Mind you, at the time I was maybe like 21 or I had just turned 22, and I'm sitting there just fucking in tears, scared to death because I thought I died. And I woke up, and when I woke up, I seen my dad sitting next to me. Now, mind you, it's 2020. At the time, it was 2019. My dad died in 2016.
Holy.
I fucking blinked, and that's my dad was gone, and I'm just in tears. And I brought it up to my mom because while I was out, there was two songs that played, and the second song woke me up because it was playing so loud.
Mm-hmm.
The first song, the name of it is actually Dawn, and my mother's name's Dawn. And the second song, I can't remember the name of it, but I told my mom about it, and she said, your father, that was one of his favorite songs and all. He used to play it for me all the time.
Wow, I have chills. That's
yeah,
fucking crazy.
and that fucked me up for a long time. And also at that time I was out of work because I had, at this point in time, I was still sniffing dope rather than shooting.
Mm-hmm.
At this point in time, I had nodded out for over 2 hours. I believe I fell out, which is basically ODing but without dying. And
yeah, I mean, it sounds like it. It sounds like a near-death experience. I mean, fuck, dude.
yeah, and I had fallen asleep on my arm. I had nodded out on my arm, and I woke up. My arm was numb. I couldn't move it. It was just dead weight, and it took 2 months for me to have mobility back in my arm.
What the fuck?
I was sitting there. I had
Because of something you shot? Or
no, because I just sniffed it, and I was in my car. I had my car running. I was at the tennis courts in Collins Lakes. And I was hunched over on the wheel and all, and I was sleeping on my arm. My arm was in between my chest and the steering wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And I woke up, and it was just like dead weight. It was my left arm. I grabbed my right arm, and I grabbed myself at the wrist. And I was driving. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good.
I was driving home with my left arm on the wheel, but using my right arm to tell my left arm what to do. And I was so scared that I would lose mobility in my arm for the rest of my life.
Wow. I wonder what the fuck that could have been. Do you think you had like a fucking... So you wouldn't have regained mobility if you had a stroke or a seizure or something like...
Yeah, I think what I had done was I think I had pinched a nerve. Because also it was like that...
Like you shot up through a nerve type of...
Well, no, because I wasn't even shooting. I just think the way that I was laying, I pinched a nerve somehow. Because also I had that pins and needles feeling... that pins needles where it gets to the point where it's like it hurts to move, and then it gets to the point where it's like a funny bone feeling where it's kind of like a hurt pleasure in a sense.
Yeah. Wow. So you you shot the pain the pain feels good like I imagine when snorting stuff they people say just watching somebody snort something after you've snorted something gives your brain the little kick of dopamine. Does just the feeling of getting stabbed fucking just do that, kind of like a masochist type of thing?
No, I've never experienced that, to be honest with you.
Okay, so you don't get a rush from just pain. It's just a drug, really.
Yeah.
And you just need it as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So, fuck. Your whole fucking... So, do you believe that you had a near-death experience? You think that you overdosed and lived, right?
Yeah, which in a sense, I would say, yeah, I definitely had a near-death experience, with the drugs. Whether that was the places I've been and the things that I did, or, even in that instance where, I believe that I had what the term is fallen out.
Yeah, and... See, when I talk about it from a psychedelic level, there's what's called the perinatal level of consciousness, which is kind of like what you're describing. It's falling out of consciousness, but you experience these weird hallucinogenic things, but this is completely overdose related.
Yeah, like this, it's just darkness.
You didn't now you didn't normally hallucinate from any of these drugs, right? Like you
No.
wouldn't hallucinate from any.
No,
So
the only thing I ever hallucinated from, other than that one talk about when I had fallen asleep, was doing meth. But that's because I hadn't slept in days, so
that's
my brain was playing
yeah.
tricks on me.
Yeah, see, and what's crazy about cocaine is cocaine actually has active like chemicals that fight hallucination. So like if you're up for days on could probably crack too, I don't know for sure,
Yeah, I
but it
definitely was.
actually fights hallucinatory effects.
That makes a lot of sense because there was a lot of times I didn't sleep for a long time because it got to the point where I was just doing fentanyl just so I wasn't sick, and then I was smoking crack and shooting coke all day.
Okay, so like if you could, would you have rather done like Percocets all the time, or would you? It didn't fucking matter.
It didn't matter.
Yeah, okay, so you just kind of again like you'd rather have gotten fentanyl just because you probably got more of it for $25 type of thing.
Yeah, you in a sense you got more bang for your buck. Like
Look,
if
well,
I was
especially
to
if you bang it.
yeah, exactly. If even if I was to have taken a Percocet, you could have gave me anything, like even like an Oxy 80, and I could eat that, and it wouldn't do a damn thing for me. I'd still be dope sick.
Yeah, it's like when Ozzy, like you watch Ozzy Osbourne eat pills, like it's fucking crazy. Like he can just eat Percocets like they're fucking candy and shit.
Yeah.
Like it's weird watching people's tolerances because like even like the Kurt Cobain documentary, they're like, how could someone have done heroin and stood up and fucking been able to shoot themselves? And it's like it's called a fucking tolerance.
Yeah.
Like most people probably can't do heroin like that, but like I definitely believe that some people can. I've seen a lot. Like there's a girl that I know. I'm kind of related to her. Her last 4 boyfriends have overdosed in front of her,
Oh man.
and yeah, it's just pattern behavior. You know what I mean? In the same bed that she's in, they probably did the same drugs, and that one wakes up and the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, now, do you want to talk about your situation regarding that since we're talking about relationships and drugs?
Yeah. Basically, try not to talk too much about her story because that's her business, not mine. Even though she had passed away, but
So say that she did pass away, right?
yeah, she actually passed away last Thursday, the day before Valentine's Day, and through our relationship, even before I was using fentanyl.
This was the ex you started using with, the one from the beginning of your story, right?
Yes,
Just so people
yes,
know.
yep, and we even before I started using fentanyl and all, and I was just doing coke, and she was doing her dope. I was always doing everything in my power to find money to support her habit and everything like that, and keep her happy. And this is someone that even without the drugs in the situation, I cared very much for. And me and her have been through hell and back together. And she always wanted the best for me, and I always wanted the best for her. And kind of rambling here because I'm trying to think.
No, I mean, so what's it like caring for somebody that has such, because you kind of enabled her in like a way.
I definitely did. I definitely enabled her to the fullest.
Using addiction terms, and you're accepting of like your role in this whole thing.
Yes.
Like you went from like an enabler to a user to like someone that needed to be enabled,
Yeah.
How does it feel like having a person, because I feel like I've smoked pot with a lot of kids, and I tried like coke and other shit with people that have had real drug problems, and some have real drug problems to this day. And like I think about that, and it's like it's weird because it's like I don't know how they made that transition, and I didn't, but you like rode this whole roller coaster with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also from what I was told, and people are sending me screenshots and messages between them and my ex-girlfriend about me when I was active, and her, she was doing this 5 years before me and her even got together.
Holy shit.
She was
How old was she?
She was 23 when she passed.
And she'd been doing dope for 5 years before you guys got together?
Yeah, she had gotten in a serious relationship with someone who was older than her, someone that was friends with her older brother. And he was into drugs and, turned her on to it.
Holy shit.
And, she said that my escalation was so bad and so quick. She'd never seen anything like it, in her 5 years
Go big or go
of
home.
drug use. Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, too, I owe that to my father. Just growing up, my father taught me how to be a criminal and addict before I even was one.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, you definitely, it's a monkey see, monkey do kind of thing. Like, even
Yeah.
my dad smoked a lot of pot in front of me, and I didn't even know he was smoking pot, but now I smoke a lot of pot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not fair to blame my father for my pot usage, but you definitely do learn things from your parents, and especially things like it's okay. It's more okay when you know your parents have done it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because you suddenly, it's like you're part of them. Your issues are their issues already,
Mm-hmm.
and you're taking on like another level of their issues. So you just like, she was like a casual user before, slowly but surely over 5 years, and then she met you, and you just fucking hit it and hit the wall right after, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I like I said, it escalated very quickly. I did anything I could to get money. I told people bullshit stories.
Me.
Yeah, you especially. We'll get into that too, because that's definitely something that's got to be talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I told people bullshit stories. I stole, I lied, I robbed. I did everything I could, just so I could get my fix.
I mean, it's real shit though. I mean,
Yeah.
and how about regrets? Like, how did you feel like after you did like, what's something you stole that you feel bad about stealing that you won't get in trouble for talking about? Probably your brother's Zach.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was thinking my brother's Xbox and the pickup truck.
Okay, so your brother's Xbox, we'll take that.
Yeah.
Like, what was your thinking process about taking it? Like, first off, he probably fucking knew it was you.
Oh yeah, I actually called them up and I told them.
Wow.
Yeah, which that surprised a lot of people. People were like, "He fucking called you and told you that shit?"
It doesn't surprise me because I guess I've known addicts, and I just know that like, it's like a last minute fucking decision. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the thing is too, my reasoning behind taking my little brother's Xbox was, my mom will get it, So I took my little brother's Xbox because it was something that I had realized that my mom would be able to get back fairly quick and all this shit and all, and
So, yeah, keep talking.
my mom, she wouldn't call the cops and press charges on me for taking the Xbox. She would just bite the bullet and pay however much they were going to charge her for it. And so yeah, that's basically why I took that. And my biggest regret with that is this is my little brother Tyler we're talking about. And my little brother Tyler is probably one of the people that I hurt the most throughout my addiction. And he's one of the people that has been like a huge support for me and always tried to help me out. And all I ever did was just fucking constantly fuck him over throughout my addiction.
But times change. I mean, yeah, you probably have your brother probably still has negative feelings toward you. How does your brother feel now? Like, does he forgive you?
Believe it or not, Tyler does. Dylan, he still holds a lot of resentment and a lot of anger.
Now you stole from Tyler, not Dylan?
Yes.
Dylan has a kid now, doesn't he?
Yeah, Dylan has a kid, and the only thing that I can ever see that I did wrong to Dylan was I was high around his kid. Other than that, I never stole from Dylan. I never did anything like that to Dylan. Tyler's fucking favorite pickup truck, I fucking hotwired. And
Tyler posts like weed things, and I feel like stoners, like we don't have like, it's not as bad of an addiction, but it's a little more, we understand it a little better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we just like smoking pot, like we get it. Like even alcoholics actually tend to be a little more angry, but probably because it's just legal. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I feel like they feel like their addiction's justified because Uncle Sam says that their shit can be taxed.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's another thing. Like, so how do you feel about criminalizing addicts? We'll talk about this right now. Like, how do you feel about addicts that are in like the cycle of jail and like habitual offenders? Basically,
it's all dependable on the situation, on the person, how they feel about it, if they're genuine, which also, us addicts, we're mass manipulators, so that's something you got to watch out for, there's only so many times you can take someone's word before, they just keep on stepping on you.
Yeah.
You gotta find someone that, to people who genuinely give a fuck and want to change and can't change and they need the help, offer them the help. Send them through the ropes, give them a probation period. Send them to rehab, do this and that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, do you think like criminalizing addicts is the right answer? I think a lot of, because first off, they're not going to stop using in jail a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like my brother, a lot of his heaviest usage was in jail. Well, I shouldn't have said that. Whatever. Fuck it. He don't like me anyway. Like it's not like you can't get drugs in jail. You know what I mean? You can definitely be using in prison. Like I think, like I said, Portugal actually had one of the worst opioid addictions in Europe, the highest HIV and one of the highest overdose rates. And what they did was they took all the cigarette machines in the company and they replaced them with clean needles, and they decriminalized everything for the purpose of putting all the money into rehab programs. And within 5 years, they went to number 2 in Europe as far as overdoses, because I think Sweden has always been, like, I think the decision to treat addiction as a judiciary problem instead of like a medical problem is the issue. Like if you had to go to the hospital for addiction, for like, oh shit, I just used, I need to go to a hospital stay for 24 hours to fucking detox and fucking clear my head out and talk to a therapist, I think that would go along a lot better than a cop picking somebody up in a bush and dragging them to a cell where they wake up tomorrow and probably don't even remember.
Oh, by far. Like, we were talking about incriminating things. This is all under the bridge and all, so this is nothing incriminating. This is done and over with. One night when I was with my ex, and she had, it was one of those times where she realized I had gotten too much for her, with my addiction. Even though she was addicted to, I was in one of those crazy mindsets.
You got too much for her, like...
Yeah, like, I was...
You were trying to make her do more, or...?
It wasn't that. It was just that, my behaviors and all I was going to do was drag her down.
Oh, like you were being like a fucking... like a void type of thing. Like,
yeah, it got to the point where,
you were using too hard for even another addict to be around.
Exactly.
Holy shit, that's crazy.
And so she had basically cut me off. And I had went to my mother's house, and mind you, I'm doing like fucking, 150 miles an hour, high as shit, heading to my mom's house. And, I could have very well killed someone. I was nodding out, driving to my mom's house, going over 100 miles per hour. I could have killed myself, anybody, And I got to my mom's house, and I was talking to my mom a little bit. And, she was asking me, like, what's going on? Is Danielle okay? Blah, blah, blah.
So you fly down the road like that, bro. I do 5 miles over the speed limit. I get pulled the fuck over. Like,
I always said this because the thing is, too, I would make the trip from Millville to Camden in 20 minutes. That's an hour drive.
Yeah, that's bad.
I would make it in 20 minutes going down 55.
That's bad.
Dude, my first day out of rehab, I went down 55 in my mom's car and got pulled over for not doing a damn thing. I'm like, how would I do like 120 down here? Like, this makes no sense to me.
God pities the drunk and the sick. It's just crazy. I mean, it is kind of crazy how lucky people fucking get with things like that. Like, that's why, like, when people get pulled over for a DUI, I'm usually pretty like, yeah, well, they probably did that like a lot. Like, it's almost never like, oh, I was at this wedding and, I had a couple drinks just because it was that time. Sometimes it is. And like, again, it's not fair to fucking crucify somebody for their first mistake. But, like, a lot of times, a lot of people I know that drink and drive do, especially in small towns.
Yeah, they get comfortable with it. That's the issue.
Yeah, they definitely do. And then that's why accidents happen, like, right around the home all the time. Because it's like, all right, left turn, home. You know what I mean? You're smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, you just have it so memorized, you're not even paying
attention.
attention.
Yeah, exactly. So your ex, did she cut you off when you started using, like, heavily, and then you kind of, like, split off from there? Or what led you guys to, like, kind of divert your addictive paths?
Basically, the living situation that we were in, we were with that female that, was supplying us the drugs. and basically it was either she cut me off or we both had to get the fuck out of there. And
Shit.
you know, I had a place to go. I could always go back to my mom's,
Uh-huh.
but she felt like she had nowhere to go. You know, especially with her addiction, you know, she wasn't welcomed anywhere. So, in a sense, she was doing what she had to do, and
Mm-hmm.
also, you know, I got too crazy for her,
Right.
and that's basically how that happened.
It's just a vicious cycle. I mean, it like you're like you say, chasing the dragon. You're literally chasing the dragon together, and like when one of you stops, the other one smacks the other in the back of the head. And you know, like it's not like even alcoholics and stoners kind of fight like over dumb little shit. We're all kinds of levels of addiction are irritable. Not having a cigarette makes you fucking irritable. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I know it
Like,
does for me.
yeah, exactly. So one can only imagine how pissed you guys get when you're actually fighting over the same bag of dope.
Yeah,
Like, I can, and then to, like, so you guys split up pretty much because you didn't have a choice, I guess. You
yeah,
would
in a
say.
sense, yeah.
That's crazy too, because you don't really think of, like, what were you guys going to do? Just go be together and homeless?
Yeah, and the thing is too, like we've been through that, and it was no fun. You know, we were sleeping in Walmart parking lots and all. She was in the passenger seat, I was in the driver's seat, and then
Wow.
we drive to work. You know, one night I got 2 flat tires.
In a Walmart parking lot?
Well, not from Walmart parking lot, but coming from the dealer's place,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
I'm sitting there like,
Camden, notably bad roads.
yeah, and I'm like, how the hell am I gonna get back to work? So you know, she had AAA through her mom, even though she didn't have a car
Mm.
or a license, and you know, we had AAA. That was a huge ordeal. We were both dope sick. You know, I ended up conning the tow truck driver and giving me like $20 and all on buying us food and shit like that, and giving me like half a pack of cigarettes he had because, as an addict, you know, mass manipulator.
Holy shit.
And you know, AAA after what turned into a 4 or 5 hour endeavor with them being there, we ended up at my work and we slept in my work's parking lot, you know, in my car. And my boss showed up and all and seen me, you know, sweating bullets, dope sick and everything in the driver's seat. And at this point in time, I had gotten my little brother Tyler a job with me.
Mm-hmm.
And he showed up to work, dude. And I basically like ripped him out of the car. I was like, dude, I gotta go to the hospital, blah blah blah. I still had that $20 from the tow truck driver, and I had no dealer that was willing to come out to my work. So I hopped in my little brother's truck and all this old '91 Dodge pickup that, you know, just screams pull me the hell over. And me and her go and get high, and then I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, you know, yeah, you know, I feel better, but I'm still kind of sick. So then I sat there and, you know, I managed to get more money. And I had people blowing up my phone, like, what hospital are you at? Like, I'm at the hospital and I don't see you, blah, 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 this, blah, 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 that. And then it got to the point where, you know, I'm finally right. And I go back to work, and my boss is looking at me like,
What the fuck happened?
yeah, you were just dying like 4 hours ago, and now you're, you know, sitting here like dancing in the rain.
Uh-huh. So like it really like how fast does it go from like dope sick to feeling good? Like is it
Dude, it feels like forever when you're going through it, but it also all depends on the delivery method. Like when I was smoking it, it would take like 7 minutes. You know, the same average for nicotine reach your brain from a cigarette.
Mhm.
You know, when I was snorting it, it would take, you know, anywhere between 30 seconds to 2 minutes. Shooting it, it was like 10 seconds.
And so when it's 10 seconds, you're immediately not sick.
You still have some of like, you know, the aftermath of it, but at that point you're usually nodding off too bad to even fucking notice.
So it's like the worst cold you can possibly imagine, right? That's how like most people describe it. It's like
Basically that with a stomach ache mixed with, you know, cold sweats mixed with, you know, constant goosebumps and
I'm sure the mental too, right?
oh yeah, the mental
'Cause
is
you're sober.
yeah, the mental is devastating.
it's got to be probably the worst part. I mean, who knows how fucking much of the sweating and the fucking stomach aches are even just mental, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because the thing is too, you know, while I was in rehab, you know, after, you know, I went through the medical detox and, you know, I didn't have that physical dependency on the dope, which is funny too, because I didn't even have a craving for the dope, you know, after I got clean. What it was crack and coke. That was my biggest thing. And I would get such bad anxiety in my chest. It felt like someone was lighting a fire in my chest. Because I just felt so compelled to just sit there and smoke crack or shoot coke.
See, I know a lot of people that are like that. I have a friend that was a heroin user, and he says that he could be around heroin anytime, but if he saw coke, it just fucks with him.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that's I wonder why. Like I mean, because I definitely feel the same way about coke, and I've never had a serious problem or fucking anything.
Yeah.
I'm just a person that's fucking tried it. Like.
Yeah, and you just want to do it again.
Yeah.
It, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like,
You just.
let me just get a
Yeah, it's just a little bump, you know what I mean? It's just the Wolf of Wall Street, you know what I fucking mean? Like, it's weird. It's weird that you just get, like, this, like, stigma in your fucking head, like...
Yeah. Yeah, it drives you insane, man. And the thing is, too, like, nobody can understand fully until they've experienced it. And I wouldn't want to wish my experiences on anybody. Because,
right.
You know, I've heard a lot of people, you know, I've heard my reputation. I've heard a lot of things. You know, I had a good reputation. You know, people see me as a good, genuine guy. You know, I was worked on people's cars. You know, people genuinely would do anything for me. And I fucked that all up.
Yeah, it definitely puts some strain on relationships. All right, here's a good question. And it's probably one that's going to upset you a little bit. How much money do you think you fucking have gone through? Like, how much a day do you think your addiction was? Like, I've asked a couple people. A friend of mine was like, I had like, I was going through like $80 worth of fucking pills or fucking powder a day. Like, and that's crazy to think about. Like, just if I would like, who the fuck could afford that? Like, literally. I know people with great jobs that probably
you're gonna
couldn't
shit
afford
yourself when you hear me.
an $80 a day habit. All right, let's hear it. What are you thinking? What's your number?
I don't know a day, but I can tell you a week.
Okay.
$2,500 a week.
Holy shit, man.
$2,500 a week, and that's between fentanyl and crack. That's before I was doing coke again.
Now, the dealers that you're getting it off of, do you think they're like addicts too, or do you think that they're like just...
No, they're clean. I mean, you know, the most they would do is smoke their weed and, you know, drink their booze.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm just picturing a guy that stands outside of a fucking, like, a crack house, and you fucking hand him the money to go inside, and then everybody inside fucking...
Well, that's how it is in Camden, but, I mean, you know, Cumberland County, and, you know, any place that's not Camden, you know, that... It's just normal people that are trying to make a come up and stuff like that. I mean, as fucked up as it is to say. But, like, I would sit there and, you know, I would ask them, like, yo, you ever try this shit? And they're like, nah, I don't even fuck with it, you know, blah, blah. And they would all say the same thing, you know, in the same tone. You don't get high on your own supply.
See, I would not fucking trust drugs from a person that's not using them. You know what I mean? Like, that is the sketchiest shit on the fucking face of the earth. Like... There's nothing like a person that won't stand by their own fucking product. Like I said, it's just crazy. And again, like, Camden is a port area, so drugs come in there. Like, it's hard for even gangs to maintain control of Camden because there's any asshole with money is a dealer. Yeah. And they can just pick up a machine gun and that's it. Like, it's not like New York and LA because the drugs are just there.
Yep.
And then they distribute them vice versa, like to Philadelphia, probably. Most of them probably go to Philadelphia. But I bet you just crossing that bridge, I bet you is probably like the hugest gap in drug distribution prices.
Oh, yeah. Most definitely. And then, you know, even with quality, too.
Yeah, stepped on across the bridge.
Yeah.
And that's crazy because there's just... Philly is a fucked up area. Camden is a fucked up area. They're both in very bad shape. They're completely ravaged by the opioid addiction. And what's interesting is Camden is like primarily black, and it's a lot of like white people that tend to have opioid addiction.
Yeah, and the thing is too, like, you know, I used to walk the streets of Camden every day. You know, not trying to sound like a badass or anything. You know, that's my story. That's the reality of it.
To be honest, you don't sound too proud of it. So
yeah, you know, that's what I was doing, and you know, the whites and the Spanish were primarily dope, and the blacks were primarily, you know, coke and crack. You know, not to sound like a stereotype.
No, but
that's what it was. That's what
it's always
I
been like that.
Yeah.
Like, it was introduced to their communities. You know what I mean? Crack is always like... I read a statistic recently that black people are just as likely to overdose on cocaine as white people are to overdose on heroin.
Yeah.
And no one just reports on it because it's still primarily affecting black people. And, like, that's crazy to think about. Like, yeah, there's probably less black people in those areas and stuff, but, like, Just the fact that there's these two separate addictions that are attacking two completely different groups of people, and they're all like at the same level. Like you were just trying to get high, so you kind of fell victim to all of it at once.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so what's it like speedballing? So what was it like speedballing? Like, for those of you not in the know, speedballing is when you do a very powerful stimulant and a very powerful downer at the same time, right? And keep it going.
And, contrary to, popular belief, you can speedball without shooting it. You can also sniff it.
Yeah, I think to be honest, I would imagine that's how Chris Farley died. I don't think he shot it. I think he just kept snorting and shooting or snorting and snorting until ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah. And then his heart just imploded. But speedballing, man, it's a crazy thing, my first time ever speedballing, I fell in love with it. Like I say, like I was shooting coke all day, but in actuality, it was speedballs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy because like I said, shooting coke had a different effect for me than it did other people. Other people would shoot coke, and they would either fish out or they would just get super hyper.
Really,
with me,
people fucking fish out from shooting coke.
Yeah, it looks
like you ever
see someone on nitrous?
Yeah, like nitrous, they fall to the ground, and they start shaking like they like a fish on the fucking land. Like
yeah,
that's just like I don't even like I've tried nitrous one time, and I've watched somebody fish out, and I was like, I will never ever find myself on the floor doing that. Like,
yep. I've heard that happens when people smoke K2 sometimes, right?
I bet. That shit.
I don't know personally, but I believe it.
K2 is a fucking dangerous fucking substance.
Yeah.
I have tried K2 and I would not recommend it to my worst enemy. Same with salvia. I really wouldn't recommend either of those.
That's where I'm at, salvia.
Salvia, yeah, people
Yeah.
definitely fish off on that shit. You've done salvia?
Yeah.
I did it, and I saw like spiders, and I saw a pterodactyl in the sky, but I didn't have anything. Tommy is completely immune to it. Paulie,
No shit.
it has no effect on him. Rat was able to move though. Rat got up and ran. He was screaming about purple lions. Like,
oh shit.
I was paralyzed. I couldn't move. Rat thought he was dying, so I guess life fucking overpowered that.
Yeah. But yeah, with speedballing, like I said.
Okay, yeah, back to.
Yeah, the coke, it didn't have the same effect on me as it did everyone else. Coke calmed me down, and you'd still get that vibrating feeling like in your head, and your vision would kind of vibrate a little bit.
Buzz.
Yeah, exactly, like kind of like a fuzzy feeling, and because of that, for me, it was basically like taking two downers, just mixing them, and that was that was just a crazy new experience to me. And I don't even really know how to describe it, because the thing is, like, the coke, even though it would calm me down, it was still enough to keep me awake. And the dope, they're fighting hand in hand, so it kind of looks like you're a mime, like you're sitting there, you're happy, you're sad, because you're sitting there nodding now, and the next thing you know, you're like jumping all over the place.
Yeah, and so my guess is when you see like a lot of like YouTube videos of like homeless people that are like bugging out on the street, they're probably speedballing usually.
In all honesty, that's usually crack.
You think it's just crack alone a lot of the time? That's crazy, because you'd think like they say you see homeless people tying their shoes because they're all slumped over.
Yeah,
and fucking shit.
That's the thing too. If you ever see anyone in a dope nod, they will never fall over.
Really?
We will never fall. Never. Like, it's just something you do not see unless someone comes up and pushes you. You will never fall. I mean, his hair can be touching the ground, and he will not fall the fuck over.
What the fuck?
I don't know.
So then, what are those people on? You don't.
That in itself is dope.
Okay.
They're sitting there nodding out.
But the
what
walking
you were talking about,
clumsy, like they're all hot, like.
Oh, that's dope. I thought you meant like how people are just like sitting there like just saying random shit.
Yeah, that's that too. Like because again, like it seems like they go from like down to up and down to up and down to up.
Well, yeah, with that I
probably
I didn't piece it together what you're trying to say.
Okay, yeah.
That's speedballing. Me, I pictured the person like dancing and shit, like all like uppity.
How much would you guess that like the homeless problem is affected by drugs? You know what I mean? Because obviously, just with your addiction, you would have a home if you didn't ever do drugs.
Yeah,
You would
that's
have a
damn true.
car if you didn't do drugs.
Yeah.
So, and again, it to a certain extent, it's almost not fair that these people don't have these things because they got affected by this. So, in your opinion, how much is the homeless problem related to?
In all honesty, it's not directly related as much as you think.
Okay,
You know,
interesting.
I talked to a lot of the addicts out there.
Mhm.
You know, when I was in Camden, because you bullshit and all, you try to
You gotta
you
make
try to make
friends.
connections and all. It's all about how can I use this person to help me out. So you dig into their personal life a little bit, and they feel more susceptible to lend a hand.
Right.
And that falls into the master manipulation. And I've talked to people, and I'm like, dude, like, how'd you end up out here? And their stories are sad. It's not like, yeah, I was doing drugs, and then next thing you know, I'm in Camden. It's like, my father and my mother was sick, and I was taking care of them. And when they passed, I had nothing because I sold everything they had and all. I put all these things in place so that I could take care of them, and because of that, I wasn't focusing on myself.
Yeah.
So I had nothing. And when, they passed, there was still a mortgage on the house, and they took the house, and then I found myself on the street, and, I turned to drugs.
I mean, if you're on the street, you might as well do drugs. Like, I've heard a lot of, I've heard, like, seriously, like, I've heard people say, like, I mean, I was gonna kill myself anyway. A lot of my, like, worst decision making and my choices to do drugs and stuff were related to, like, my lack of concern for my own well-being. You know what I mean? You're somewhat suicidal. You don't care about, about tomorrow, about the drugs, about anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I had an opposite experience. Like, when my mom died, there was definitely a point where I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna try drugs. And then I took too much mushrooms, and then that hit me like a bus, and it, like, threw me for a loop. But, like, I just as easily would have been susceptible to alcohol or fucking coke. If I had just bought a bag of coke instead of mushrooms that day, I could be on a completely different path right now.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
And this was actually the next question was, how close do you think your depression and drugs are? Like,
Extremely related. When I was getting high, I didn't think anything of it. I was like, I get high because I'm depressed.
yeah.
And then, after I got clean, I realized, I was depressed because I got high. It was complete opposite. Because, that crash and all, and, you're constantly in a state of self-pity. And, you feel worthless. And you try to measure yourself in, what you can do for others. And you're just so down in the dumps, you just keep on getting high to try to numb it, but all you're doing is just digging yourself deeper, deeper, and deeper. I was told some information that, hit me hard while I was getting high. And it depressed me. And I got out of my car, and I walked down to the dealer, and this is when I was in Camden. I walked down to the dealer with my last fucking $5 that I was supposed to put gas in the car because the car had no gas, so I'm sitting on the side of the fucking road in Camden.
Literally unable to move, like your car won't start?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I walked down to the dealer, I got this bag, and I go back to the car, and the person I was with, I shoot this bag right in front of them while they're on the phone. And it was during their phone conversation that I heard what I didn't, particularly care for. And, all that did was just fucking heighten my depression.
So like, yeah, like you picture like even in a movie, you see like an alcoholic, they get bad news, they go to the fucking bar, just get the drink, and they just start drinking. Like for you, like it's the same thing. Like, the bad news hits you, but you were doing it anyway, and it's just kind of like, I had a friend that told me that one of the strongest antidepressants that they've ever had was heroin. Like, when they were shooting up heroin, they were not, like, depressed for, like, the first time in their life. And
yeah, like the first 10 seconds of the high.
Yeah, okay. See, and I think that even this is the beginning of addiction. You know what I mean? Like, at first,
yeah, because it's still fun. It's still, a
you're
game.
not,
It's
yeah.
still recreational. It's not, survival.
Yeah, it's recreational.
Like, my mom would say, sorry for cutting you off, but my mom would say,
go
because
ahead.
every now and then I would come home, because I would get tired of fucking sleeping on the floor or sleeping in my car. I would come home, so I'd actually sleep in a bed.
Uh-huh.
And my mom, she would come up to me and all, and mind you, anyone that knows me from a child knows I always had a fucking knife on me.
Yeah.
Especially when I was running out Camden. I always had a knife on me. I actually had a sawed-off shotgun as well.
I mean, fuck, dude.
And,
You're around literally probably the people that people tell their kids to stay away from.
yeah, I was that guy at one point. And, my mom nowadays, she's very religious, so she would come up to me while I was sleeping, and she would like touch my forehead and all,
Pray for you and whatever.
Yeah, pray for me. And she said, she would touch me, and I'd wake up in a fucking panic, and the first thing I would do is reach for my knife. So I always kept my knife in my waistband, and I would just wake up in a panic, freaking out and stuff like that. And even when I was awake, she'd come up behind me, and she would just like touch my shoulder, and I would just snap like that, like just animal instinct, just not that I would flip out on her. But I'd sit there and just, my reaction would be so quick and such like, a fight mode, ready for anything, that it was a genuine concern for her. And that's because that was the environment I put myself in.
It's got to be some kind of PTSD that you experienced while you were out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
just,
definitely. Because I was fighting a lot. And anyone that knows me is when I was younger, I was a hothead. I used to fight a lot, and in recent years, I got past that. I learned how to, think things over rather than settle it with my fists. And
I mean,
I
even
was
your
constantly
addiction, you
fighting.
definitely weren't ready to fight anybody for the most part. It seemed like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you have always been like a tough, hard-headed guy, and like when you were at your I don't really believe in rock bottoms, but when you were at a low point, you definitely weren't ready to fight.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I was forced to fight, literally when my ex came to Camden with me one time, I picked her up, and we're going down the street, and, she literally watched me punch some dude in the mouth within 3 seconds of the guy saying one fucking word. Because the guy literally, like, me and her walking down the street, and the guy literally looked over at her and asked her how much,
to like buy her?
Yeah, like acting like she was a prostitute.
prostitute.
And this dude was in a car, dude, and I sat there. He didn't even finish getting the words out, and I punched him straight in his fucking shit. And the thing is, like, we'd be walking down, and, someone would be like, oh, you got $1, you got this, you got that. And literally all I would say, and she would say that she counted how many times I said it and all. I forget what she said, but all I would say is, I'm out here too, homie. And she said, like, that was the most fucking disturbing thing for her to hear me say. Because it was like I wasn't even a person anymore.
Yeah. Like, I mean, yeah. I mean, you hear about people that even get low that they're they sell their girlfriends and stuff like that.
Yeah, and like, I never got to that point. I was dead set against that.
I mean,
dead set.
I mean, I guess
I know people who have though. While I was running Camden, I had a dude offer me his girlfriend for free just because he thought I was a cool dude. He sat there. He's like, look, usually fucking she'll do it for $20, but you're a cool dude. You want to fuck her? Go for it. And I'm like, dude, like, no, I just want to get high.
Hell? Yeah, you're probably gonna catch something, bro.
Yeah,
that's dangerous.
Luckily, I never fucked with any of the girls out there, but the one person I was running with, he actually gave me $10 so I could go get crack, and he found some chick to suck his dick for $5 in my car in Camden. Now, mind you, he's fucking high as shit off coke, crack, and fentanyl, so he can't come. Meanwhile, I'm out here fucking smoking $10 worth of crack. Like, okay, I'm all out of crack, and this motherfucker's still in my car. And then
How
3 hours
long
later,
does $10 worth of crack last?
about 30 seconds.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, it's probably like a hit. I mean, for you, obviously, you seem like you were telling us you take these big orgasm hits.
Oh, yeah.
So, like...
For me, it was definitely a hit. Anybody else, it's like fucking half day's worth of crack.
I mean, like, so when you hear about people that are using, like, underneath, like, the bridge and stuff like that, or, like, I hear about people that go and get sucked into Camden, like, what do you think... First off, why do you think Camden has the problem that it does? Like, if you were to guess why Camden is a problem, what would you say?
Because it's easy.
It's easy to get them.
Cops and everything. I work in Camden.
The cops are corrupt
They
too?
don't do shit.
Yeah.
And the housing situations and all that shit. It's just a really shit town. Like, and all the fucking the foundries and factories and all that shit surrounding it. Like,
I mean, yeah, what hope do they even really have in Camden? Like, what job can you get? Like, yeah, continue talking. Go ahead. Like, again, like, so you say the police force in Camden is corrupt. Like, how corrupt on a scale of they're the
1 to
dealers
10?
too? Yeah.
Oh, on the scale of they're the dealers too? Well, I know on I think it's called Shore Ave. They have cops sitting on the road, so because that's where a lot of people sit out on their stoops and they just sell to anyone that walks up asking for something. Well, they have cops sitting out there, and you still just walk up anyway.
Yeah, like no one they don't have like again, like Joe in your predicament, like you're not probably not even afraid of the cops at that point.
No, and the thing is too, like Camden Metro was a joke. Like he was saying,
Yeah.
because there was Camden Metro and then there was Port Authority, and Camden Metro is who
I had a
primarily.
friend that worked for the Port Authority actually.
Oh yeah, I probably met him on bad circumstances. But with the
He
Camden
probably didn't have
Metro-
money to actually get on the train.
Yeah. Oh, I got you.
Yeah, he sweeped up. But anyway, continue.
Yeah. But with the Camden Metro, we got to the point where they wouldn't even get out of their cars. They would just pull up to the set, which the set is, any place you get drugs, and they would just sit in their car.
And
they would get paid off.
Yeah. That's exactly what would happen. They would get paid off, and they would just pull up just to collect money and shit. And literally...
They just act like they're doing something.
Yeah, and they would just sit there. So any other Camden Metro that passed by, say it was a rookie that, was still...
he
clean-cut
don't know
Yeah,
anything yet.
He's just like, okay, this car's here, they're posted up, so they're good, I can keep going.
And then you realize, like, they're a gang, too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nobody snitches on nobody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you really think the cops are snitching on other cops? Really? And then they're going to go back to work and work around other cops that are probably corrupt, too? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Those cops are in an impossible predicament, too. Either you become corrupt, or you either you become the thing that you're supposed to be fighting against, or you probably either die or get hurt or fucking fired doing the right thing. And that's no good either. You know what I mean? And Camden's a fucking bad area.
It's real bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Have you been around shootings and stuff out there? Like,
Yeah.
so...
I actually, in my Pontiac, I had 2 bullet holes.
Oh my
because
God.
I drove past and I got shot at because somebody thought I was somebody else.
Holy shit.
Yep.
See, my family's from, like, Kensington, so that's like a situation all on its own, too.
I was out in Kensington for 1 day. 1 day because someone told me they had better drugs and cheaper needles. And I went out to Kensington.
You buy the needles from the dealer, too?
No.
Interesting.
If you just walk down Camden anywheres, there's a lot of terminology out there, but one of the terms is works. Like, people say, I got words for sale. That's a needle.
Okay. So there's just a guy with, like, a trench coat full of needles walking around, like, fucking...
In a sense, yeah. I mean, they're not in a trench coat.
But yeah,
they
you
look
know
like
what
a
I
straight
mean.
Fiend, but yeah, they just walk around and, they just sit there and tell you, like, I got words for sale, which I actually got in...
Is that illegal, selling needles to addicts?
Believe it or not,
I don't think it is.
as of right now, you or I can go to Walgreens, CVS, or Rite Aid and buy needles right now.
And then just sell them on the street for more money?
Yep.
Huh.
Because I did it. I would go to Rite Aid and I would buy needles and stuff like that.
I don't think that's the worst thing, though, to be honest, because it's only fighting things like HIV. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but even with that, people, they still, use other people's needles and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, is when they're not free, when they're even charging anything for them will enable somebody to fucking use somebody else's needle.
Oh, and like I was saying with Kensington, I was in Kensington for 1 day before I went back to Camden. And I'm literally behind this building shooting up. And, people call, like, skin pop and finding a vein. Like, nobody skin pops. That's just a movie fucking thing. You always sitting there trying to find a vein. And I'm sitting there finding the vein, and I pull back on the plunger, and I finally get the blood coming into the needle.
Right.
So I know I found my vein. I had someone come up and rip my needle out of my fucking arm and try to shoot it themselves, while my blood was in the needle.
Whoa. That's ratchet as fuck.
Yeah.
That is like some of the grimiest shit I have ever fucking heard.
Yep.
Holy motherfuck.
Yep.
Wow. So, So when you say it's like a movie thing, like what's another like junkie movie trait that you definitely were like, that's bullshit?
I would probably say, like when they would do like the adrenaline shot and shit like that, like the Narcan. Like it's not one of those.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
you're waking up from like a daze, like you
Yeah,
were drunk as shit, and you're waking up the next morning with a hangover, like
yeah.
like you're foggy.
I've watched like videos of people get Narcan, and they usually wake up pissed off because they're sober now.
Yeah, but the thing is, that only lasts for like 20 seconds. I mean, I've never been Narcaned or anything like that, but I know plenty of people, and I've Narcaned people,
Oh my god.
and they're like, I did so much that I'm still high. Like
Wow.
it's
So the
insane.
opioid repressant actually can keep going through the like that's crazy.
Yeah,
There's just so much in their blood.
that's like even with Suboxone. Suboxone, it's it's to help taper you off of opioids, and it actually has a blocker in it, so you can't get high. But there's actually a way around that not too many people know of.
Yeah, I mean I've heard of people chewing on the patches and shit like that, so I assume there's something that gets you high in them.
Yeah, because it's still an opioid itself. It strips the opioid receptors, but it's still
Like
an
Kratom and
opioid
stuff.
itself. Yeah.
Kratom, I've tried Kratom and it trips the opioid receptors, but it doesn't really do anything, I feel
Joe
like.
Rogan over here, Kratom.
Yeah.
Not Kratom, Kratom.
Well, it's how it's pronounced. If you go back to the right, if
I'm just busting balls.
I know.
Yeah.
I like drugs. Like I take a real interest in drugs. That's why like I find this shit like super interesting and the way
Oh,
that
I know.
it
That's
affects
why
the
when
brain.
you asked about podcasts, I was like, dude, I'm down to do one on addiction.
Opioids are a very interesting class of drugs. Like the first opioid usage that I've like read about was like Alexander the Great used to have his soldiers smoke opium because they'd fucking get stabbed and keep fighting.
Yeah.
Like when you've just got this noxious painkiller out, you can just make super soldiers and just have them fucking go, and they don't even care about living or dying because they're just hella high, bro.
Oh yeah. Everything's just a fog.
That's a good way to describe it. So like, what was like a fear of yours being in Camden? Like, I mean, there has to be fucking countless of them, but
In all honesty, I was always so high, I never had one. And the thing is, too, after I got clean, my mom pointed out,
like you don't even think you're gonna get robbed because you don't have shit.
yeah, exactly. You don't have shit. And plus, I was out there, being a scumbag piece of shit. So it's like, anybody tries to do something to me, I'm fucking them up or I'm stabbing them. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
nothing's...
you're when you're fighting the lowest rung of society, you are fighting the lowest rung of society. Just as likely as someone is to grab your fucking needle, you're just as likely to fucking stab them in the fucking face.
Exactly. And the thing is, too, like, that's not even something you think about. Like, if you go to rob someone in Camden, you don't think about them pulling a gun on you or anything. And meanwhile, my mom's at home concerned about me shooting coke because I've had high blood pressure since I was 16, and she thinks my heart's gonna explode. That never crossed my fucking mind that my heart's gonna explode because I have high blood pressure and I'm shooting coke and smoking crack. That never once occurred to me.
See, that's scary thinking about that addicts don't think about dying.
Yeah.
It really is because like even like I feel like cigarette smokers a lot of the times, like not every time they light a cigarette obviously, but sometimes they definitely think about like this is probably going to fucking kill me. Like
Only when you're sitting there coughing up after the first hit.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's
I mean, you used to smoke.
yeah, exactly. And I still smoke pot. Like I get it. Like and you know that it's not good for you, but you just don't give a fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
Like and that go all right. So that goes into the next thing. So what about dirty drugs and like shit that? So what was your main concern about buying drugs? What was that like?
My main concern about buying drugs was either getting skimp, which is basically, like not as much as I paid for,
Right.
or getting fake drugs.
What happens when your dealer skimps you? Like,
When your dealer skimps you, there's, one or two things you can do. You can either take it up with him, then he gets pissed off, and then he skimps you even more, or he just completely beats you.
yeah.
Well, actually, there's like three things that can happen. You can stop fucking with him, or you can retaliate, and then it's just a shit show for everyone involved.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't even seem worth fighting with somebody that skimps you. That's
It's
probably
not.
why they do it.
It gets to the point where you're just like, okay, he fucked me, he skimped me, I'm not fucking with him anymore.
And then like, it's just like when they get arrested, well, there's always just another fucking head that'll sell to somebody.
Yeah, but then the thing is, too, like, I like to refer to, drugs as like white people drinking.
Okay.
You know, a white guy, if he goes to a bar and he drinks Bud Light, they ain't got Bud Light, you know, he's gonna go to a different bar most likely because that's what he drinks.
Mm-hmm.
It got to the point where, you know, I only went to one person for drugs because I liked what they had. They had the best shit. If they didn't have shit, I was sitting there dope sick, waiting for the motherfucker to have the best shit. If anything, I'd go get something, and I wouldn't buy, you know, as much as I would. I would buy enough just to get me off ease so I wasn't sick.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd sit there and I'd wait around until my dude came through with his shit.
Okay, so shit. So really, it was become first off. There was like a survivor thing, so you'd buy cheap shit or for some Joe Schmo for whatever fucking reason, but you really wanted this one guy's product,
Yeah.
and if he wasn't around, you just still needed it. Because that's always been my concern. Like I think because I'll smoke weed, and like sometimes weed will go through a drought or something. Nobody can get fucking weed in the town. I've always wondered like what the fuck the heroin addicts do when they can't get fucking weed. What happens when it fucking snows and it's fucking 3 feet of snow outside?
Yeah, and the thing is too, like I've been in Camden when it's downpouring raining, and you cannot find a single motherfucker out there slinging anything, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you know like the two spots where they sell where it's inside and they're not just standing on the sidewalk, like you are screwed.
You need like a crack house kind of thing. Like you need like an abandoned building that people use in.
Yeah.
And those are probably the hardest things to get into because they want fucking addicts that are fucking like probably new and have money still.
Yeah.
Like that's got to be like the biggest thing. Like I was talking to my cousin who has friends that have gone to like Tent City to shoot up for like a day, and they'll just go hang out in somebody's tent and just use for fucking a couple like a day or so, and they'll pay the guy that lives in the tent, and that's just their fucking whole experience.
Yep.
So you've done shit like that too, or
that I never done anything like that, but I've had people do that to me. Like they would be like, "Oh, like let me just ride around with you in your whip and all. You know, I'll give you gas money, I'll buy you drugs, blah blah blah, stuff like that." And it's like, okay, like all you want to do is just get high with me, and you're gonna pay for me and shit like that. Like fuck it, yeah, I'll do that.
I mean, though, from a person that would just casually use, like I get that. Like when I used to get coke, I used to have to give coke to the person that got coke for me off of the fucking dealer.
Yeah, that's also usually too like a respect thing as well.
Yeah,
know?
Exactly. Like
you're middlemaning for me, so.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like I don't want to fucking deal with that guy anyway. Like from their perspective as a user, I don't really want to know the coke dealer too well.
Yeah, because I had a lot of people do that too. Like, look, I'll give you money to get me shit. And it's like, well, do you want to come with?
Right.
And it's like, nah, because I don't want to be in that situation. I don't want to be around it. Blah blah blah. Like, okay, yeah, I get that. Now, also, those are the people that usually get beat too. Not saying that I'm not gonna get you something,
but they're probably
I'm not getting you as much, and the prices are fucking tripled. Than
well,
that's
what like I'm saying. Like they're probably getting beat on purpose. Like again, like you watch like Drugs Inc. and you'll see like a guy that gets drugs for people on Wall Street, and he's like, yeah, I go right to the ghetto and I buy them for dirt cheap, and then I take them right to Wall Street and I fucking take their credit cards for them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that, and that's the thing is like people will pay to not deal with fucking the worst dealer possible.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, I get that. And again, like part of it me knows that if Amazon was selling like fucking fentanyl or heroin, that there wouldn't be fentanyl in it, or there wouldn't be, if it was coming from a safer, like a controlled source, it would probably be safer than just buying this bundles of shit. Like,
well, you would imagine that, but also, you got to think too, everything is a business, even Amazon. They're going to go out trying to find, the cheapest product with good results and try to upsell the hell out of it.
And then regulate it, though. That's the thing. Like, again, like the reason that people don't go blind from alcohol anymore is because we regulate the alcohol.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can regulate out certain things. That's like... Dirty drugs scare the shit out of me. And, like, you see, like, Mac Miller, he died of pills. Like, he took a pill with fentanyl in it. Like... Yeah. That to me is crazy. Like the fact that they're just fucking making fake pills and presses. And like, I would be pissed. I don't know if you can think on the other side, but if you're fucking dead and someone fucking kills me with drugs that I didn't fucking mean to take, I am going to be fucking mad. Yeah. I am going to haunt your fucking ass for the rest of my fucking life.
Oh, here's another thing too. while I was, using, I took 3 drug tests within 4 days, came up clean every single fucking one.
That's crazy.
And mind you, the one I sniffed a line of dope before I went into, and this was an actual facility. I was going to get drug tested because I was starting a job for UPS. So this is like a serious fucking drug test. This ain't no bullshit. I had to go through a DOT fucking physical and everything like that. Mind you, I was being a mechanic for UPS. That's why I had to go through all these certain steps and everything.
But like the drug test came up with nothing. Like that's the thing about those drug tests is like it feels like they're only looking for pot, because like coke, even if you're a cokehead, like most cokeheads only use it during like the weekend. You know what I mean? You take 2-3 days off, which isn't that hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're fine. Heroin, like you take a day or 2 off, you're fine. And again, you were actively using and pissed clean. Yeah. Like me, I haven't been able to piss clean since I was 12 years old because of pot.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like,
speaking of which, I just want to throw the story in there and all because I still find it fucking funny. I remember the first time you fucking showed up to my house with weed. The first time I smoked weed, and we stole rolling papers from my older brother, and we went into the woods behind Olivet. We had no clue what the fuck we were doing. We didn't break the weed up. We just took the nuds and fucking. I remember sitting there trying to roll it, and we're just sitting there light it, and we're smoking like nuts of weed that wasn't busted up or anything like that.
Bro, I wonder if we got high off it. I guess we inhaled something, I guess, right?
I think we did because, I was smoking cigarettes.
We just probably wasted so much weed.
Oh, we definitely did. We definitely wasted a lot of weed.
I remember that, bro.
I remember I was smoking cigarettes at the time, because I've been smoking cigarettes since I was 9.
We just started smoking cigarettes. We were at least I just did. We were like, I was like, all right, yeah, we have like 2 cigarettes and like we'll try this weed. We'll go fucking hide in the woods and all that, which is stupid as fuck because we're literally 5 feet behind a fucking school.
Yeah, and the thing is too, like it wasn't even like we went into the woods like where the jumps were. We were literally like at the fucking tree line so that we could see because we were so like sketched out.
We're so stupid.
Yeah,
kids are so fucking stupid. Like, yeah. I again, like I remember smoking pot with a lot of people for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, and that probably says something about me as a person, but like...
Well, half of Pittsgrove smoked cigarettes because of me, so don't feel too bad.
Yeah.
At least my thing can fucking kill people.
No offense, but it was probably you that got me to try a cigarette the first time.
Oh,
And then it was probably me and you that got Colin to try cigarettes for the first time.
I do not doubt it whatsoever.
Tommy never smoked cigarettes, surprisingly.
Yeah, he smoked one here and there, but that was about it.
And then, like, the older he got, he was like, I really don't like this.
Yeah.
Like now he won't even fucking he's like just talk shit. But
yeah.
So, what do you think we'll since we've been talking for like an hour and a half, we'll end this on some positivity. So, what do you think could help addicts get and stay clean? Like if you were to help design a program now that you're actively working with people and you've had your own experiences, what do you think does the most help?
In all honesty, not to sound cliche, I found NA and rehab to be a huge help for me because I tried to get clean on my own plenty of times and it never worked one bit. But then again, your recovery is tailored to you. What works for me might not work for somebody else. I know plenty of people that they'll go to NA and NA makes them want to get high.
Yeah.
Me, I go to NA and I feel comforted. I talk about my issues. I get involved. And it makes me not want to get high because I'm surrounded by like-minded people who are as fucked up in the head as me and understand and get me.
Right, it gives you something to relate to.
Yeah, but from my experience, what helped me that I believe could help any addict, and I say it's worth a try, is, go to an NA meeting, get involved, get a home group, get a sponsor and everything. I called my sponsor last night, talked to my sponsor about, my ex-girlfriend passing.
I mean, holy shit. Like,
and, he sat there, he's like, dude, I haven't heard from you in, like, fucking 3 weeks, which is a really long time to talk to your sponsor because, I've been fucked up in my head about multiple things. And he's like, and you dropped this banger on me, dude. Like, you should have fucking called me.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I know. And, get involved, do the step work, do the 12 steps and all.
But it's like going to therapy. Like, at a certain point,
that's exactly what it is.
It's free therapy. Like, I definitely think addiction needs... First off, professionals. Like, that's another thing. Like, if there was, like, a different aspect of police that dealt with specifically mental crimes like addiction and fucking suicide and domestic abuse. You know, you don't need to send the armed cop with the SWAT team and the gun every single time. You know what I mean? Sometimes they make things worse.
Yeah.
Like I almost got arrested for trying to commit suicide. The cop threw me against a fucking car because all I did was try to kill myself. Like, that didn't help me. And I wasn't actively trying to hurt the cop or do anything. Like, that guy was just an aggro dude that probably should have not been there. And there's a time for that guy. You know what I mean? There's a time where you want that guy to kick in somebody's door and fucking help that kid.
It's all situational circumstances.
And you definitely need to cater things to situations.
Yeah.
So you think so? Now in NA, I've heard people have the problem with surrendering to a higher power, like that it is kind of like a religious movement. How do you feel about that?
That is actually, you know, a unpopular. Well, it's actually a popular belief and all, but it's not true. You know, if you sit in a NA meeting, within the first 15 minutes, we tell you, you know, it's not a religious program; it's a spiritual program.
Yeah,
your higher power can be whatever you want it to be. It doesn't have to be, you know, this God or
yourself,
Allah or anything
your will.
like that. To me, you know, my higher power is my father. My father's my higher power because I should have been dead in a situation that happened right across from where, you know, my father and my mother got married. I should have died in that spot. And I lived through that situation. And to me, that was my dad protecting me. So that's my higher power. Your higher power can be anyone. I know someone that says their higher power is Eminem. Now, it shouldn't be a living person.
Probably not, but
if that works for you, that's what it is.
But I get that though. I've had moments where I've been at rock bottom and the song hits the right way.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? There is something higher to it. And I get surrendering to a higher power or not even necessarily spiritual, like your father is where your strength comes from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You need something bigger than yourself. You know what I mean? If you're working to help addicts, if you're working to help people, if you're being a good person, if you're trying to, like, you can't just live for today. And that's a lot of addiction's problem, is living for today.
Yeah, but that's also the thing is, too, you know, that's one of the slogans in NA is just for today. And in all honesty,
staying clean just for today, yeah.
Yeah, which I know you're meaning in a different circumstance.
Because I've been at points where, like, fuck it, I'm just gonna get high just for today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was more. Yeah, I see what you're saying though. Like it is a, like with depression. Like there's a quote from BoJack Horseman where he starts like running, and the running is like a symbol for depression, and the turtle like runs past him, and he's like, how did you do that? And he's like, it gets easier. You know, you just have to do it every day.
And the thing is, too, if you go looking for negativity, you're going to find it. If you go looking for positivity, you're going to find it.
Yeah. What negative experiences have you had with recovery?
Negative experiences? You know, I got nothing. Negative experiences, I've been filling the void that, you know, drugs took up with other things. Like, you know, my biggest thing was sex. You know, after I got clean, you know, even while I was getting clean, while I was in rehab, you know, I was sleeping around, and, you know, outside of rehab. The rehab
hookup thing.
Yeah, the rehab romances and shit.
Yeah, that's what it is, rehab romance. That's the
rehab
word.
Romance, yeah. I had multiple of them. And, you know, even outside of rehab, you know, in the rooms, you know, it's a common thing, because also when you get clean, you're horny as hell. Like, I forgot what being horny was like until I got clean.
That's crazy, because you're, like, one of the horniest people I've met in my entire life.
Like, have you seen my fucking Facebook page? Like,
yeah.
Damn, yeah.
Like, I don't know if anybody, I mean, some of you probably know Joe, but the people that don't, Joe is a very horny person. Joe is the first person that showed me porn. I showed you pot. You definitely showed me porn before.
Oh, I definitely showed. I won porn. Remember showing Johnny Morganti, and he's like, I just want to see two chits, and this dude walked into the frame, he's like, dick.
I definitely saw my first porn in your fucking house.
Yeah.
Like, and that's weird, because nobody watches porn like that anymore. Like, there used to be a friend that was like, yo, I got a Playboy. Everybody look at it. And and like, now everybody, now an 8-year-old's just like, what do tits look like? And he types it into Google, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We were like the first generation that were able to do that, but we still did it all together, which is fucking weird.
Oh, yeah, it was like a group fucking thing, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't as weird as it sounded, but it was the first time I looked at fucking full nude porn was with you.
Yeah, but I just kind of want to end it on this and all because this is something that's really helped me. With my aunt's passing. There's a female that I know from the meetings that I've been romantic with, and she's a Latina, and she's been extremely understanding throughout the whole thing. She's never put me down or anything like that over it. Me and her actually hung out the day after Valentine's Day, and since we're both in recovery, we weren't drinking, so. I'm a social coffee drinker, and she fucking adores coffee.
Yeah.
And she was like, in my culture, when someone passes, we toast to symbolize their life after death. And she's like, I want to do that for Danielle. And that just fucking hit me so fucking hard, man. And then after that, she sat there and she's like, do you want to talk about it? Blah, blah. And like, I'm sitting there like, this girl's asked me to pour my heart out because she genuinely cares. And I feel like an asshole because I'm sitting there, I'm romantic with her. And I'm talking about an ex that even after her death, I'm still madly in love with.
Well, I mean, it's hard, if not impossible, to fall out of love. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I truly believe that there's pieces of certain people that are inside your soul forever.
Yeah.
And I don't know, through whatever you and your ex put each other through, it does seem that you both cared about it. I mean, clearly I don't know her personally, but very clearly your heart goes out to her and you care deeply for her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just insanely not fair. And it's chaos and it's an accident and we lose people all the time to insanely unfair things. I mean, the two leading causes of death for people our age are suicide and, overdose. And it should be like car accidents. It should be a complete accident that just happens sometimes that you can't fight,
Yeah.
And you can fight these things. To an extent, you can't fight car accidents.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's what it is. And when Scott Paradise died, sorry to name names, but everybody knows this. We started I was at a couple meetings. It's like a cougar meet thing because Pittsgrove has notoriously had kind of a weird problem with drugs for being such a small town.
Just real quick, you said cougar. I didn't even think of the mascot. I immediately thought of older women.
Yeah. I shouldn't say this, but it was started by older women.
Oh, nice. Sounds like my program.
And what we're doing is we're trying to actively help like local addictions at a personal level, talking about it inside of the schools and helping people, because kids need to identify it even in their parents. You know what I mean? Like, if you know that you have addictive behavior and you have addictive tendencies and that they're natural and genetic or, circumstantial or whatever, a combination of both, then you can live your life accordingly. You know what I mean? Like you, for example, you have to abstain from things because you are a high-risk individual.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I can't smoke weed. I can't drink alcohol. I can't ingest or digest or anything, any mind or mood altering substance.
And when
except for caffeine and nicotine.
When you and you admitted you're even kind of addicted to them, they're just notoriously forgiving. Well,
yeah.
Not nicotine, but coffee is notoriously forgiving. And like even Red Bull, like I have a friend that was telling me that when he was in recovery, a lot of people were using Red Bull around him, just like, and he took note of that. Like, I probably should avoid Red Bull because everybody at these meetings is just downing Red Bull.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, you walked out of your house when I pulled up, and you're looking at me with an energy drink in one hand, a cigarette in my mouth, and a soda in the other hand, and 3 Slim Jims, like. And
you're still, because you still have chemical dependencies, but like you've consciously chosen better chemicals. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's all about, I like to say this all the time and all because I mess with my mother about this, but it's replacing.
Yeah.
Replacing one substance with another. And I talked about my mom with that, with her coffee addiction and all, her replacing coffee with, fast food and vice versa and all this.
And we were talking with like video games and stuff like that too.
Yeah,
like again, it's everything.
Before I was a drug addict, I was addicted to cars and tools. Like, my mom even said it, like, "Oh, you're addicted to tools," and I'm like, I'm not addicted to drugs, so I can't be addicted to anything else. But meanwhile, I have all these tool sets, and I have fucking a yard filled with cars.
Oh yeah, and there's just and like it's just a lot of like addiction things have to do with money. Like even just people who are addicted to shopping, like they'll buy crap they don't need. I have a friend that's decently addicted to shopping now, and he's He doesn't know what the fuck to do about it. And there's not, and it's weird addictions like that no one knows what the fuck to do about.
Yeah.
Like it's getting like not that we're handling opioid addiction the way that we should be, but like there's not a lot of options for people with video game addiction or shopaholics or fucking, you know what I mean? Like we're getting into the substances, but we're also starting to realize like this is something that humans just do.
Yeah.
And it was probably better when, like, okay, I sit in that tree every single day, and I do my thing, and I shoot this deer, and one day I'm not going to do that anymore because I'm going to die at the age of 25.
Yeah.
And now, like, we're living longer, and we're starting to realize, like, maybe there's more to life than climbing the same tree every fucking day, you know, to shoot the same deer in the same field.
Yeah.
And it's different. It's definitely different. To anyone that gets help, that needs help, what do you have to say to them, Joe? What do you want anybody that is listening to this right now that thinks that they might need help, either with depression or addiction or anything that you might have gone through in your life?
No matter what it is, be patient with yourself and the others around you, because, people, they're afraid of the unknown. They can't understand exactly what you're going through. They're going to try to relate on your level, but they can never understand exactly how you feel. So you have to be patient and keep that in mind. Do what works for you. Whatever helps you get better, as long as it's a positive thing, keep doing it. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. For instance, I'm going to relate this to recovery. With recovery, don't let anyone tell you what your recovery is. If, that's keeping you from using or hurting yourself, and it's still a positive thing, do it. And that's all I got.
All right, guys, and with that, I think we're gonna let this go at about an hour and 45 minutes. Remember that light at the end of the tunnel is worth getting to. It gets better. It most definitely does, and if you let it, it can get great.